The Match Ball.
Hello, welcome to the Match Ball for the Leeds Man United game. It's Dan, Michael and Moscow here with you to analyse what just happened at Ellen Road. We've just trotted straight down from the stadium to our studio just off Gelded Road.
I fell over. I didn't trot. I fell over.
Oh, did you?
Bruno Fernandes, yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that in a minute.
I think my knee's okay.
Let me mention Levi Solicitors. It's very, very important we do them at the start of the podcast and say thank you to them for their support, continued support. They're our favourite solicitors of all of the solicitors, aren't they, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know why that is? Not just because they pay us to say it?
That's what I was going to say. Because they're the best.
Yeah, they are the best at what they do in the world.
If they weren't, we wouldn't let them pay us.
Yeah, that's true. 10% discount on your legal fees. LeviSolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Appointment booking system is available online. You can book appointments from wherever you are in the country as well, not just Leeds, everywhere. LeviSolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Right then, didn't feel like a 2-0 loss, did it? Very disappointing there towards the end. How did you fall over, Moscow?
You know, when you go out the back of the Kop now and you're going round Bobby Collins' way, they've got the little barriers.
Towards the ice rink thing?
The tiny ones that are under knee height for some reason.
the ones directly behind the Kop, it means.
Oh, right, okay.
They're all the same. But yeah, as you go around towards the ice rink, just a struggle, even though I am quite tall, my legs are quite long, and the barriers are quite short, went down. Yeah, but I think I'm all right.
Was there much of an audience? Or?
If anyone's got video footage, do send it on.
There was a couple of people. I think I styled it out.
2-0 to Man United today. Felt a bit unfortunate for a game that, from where I was sitting at least, that we seemed to dominate that up to a point, and then from what people are generally saying and my own high-level analysis, the subs changed the game a bit, didn't they? We kind of lost momentum when Bamford went off and then Harrison. And Ruta looked every bit a 20-year-old kid who's been parachuted into a Premier League game without much practice.
Yeah, it didn't work, did it, from that point? We seemed to lose momentum, and they made changes as well when they changed shape at the back, didn't they? And we didn't seem to necessarily adapt to that particularly well. Yeah, and Ruta was... I think I could see why we made the changes, because I think Bamford and Harrison had both done a lot of running and looked like they might be tired and maybe you're looking to freshen it up a bit. But yeah, it didn't really work. He reminded me a bit of Paulo Wanchope today, did Ruta. You know, in that... He's got very unconventional movements. He's got
that kind of, you know, how Erling Haaland kind of is very limmy as he runs. Ruta's a bit like that, but a little bit like Napoleon Dynamite as well, almost running, leaning forward, I thought, which was quite fun. Yeah. But no, he didn't. He just didn't have it today, did he? There were some nice little flashes of skill when he tried to turn out of trouble, but he felt like he needed too long on the ball.
I was going to say, I thought he did some nice stuff. There was one in particular where he was kind of got the ball under control in our half when we were under pressure, and he kept it, moved it, and then saw a lovely ball out to Ayling on the wing. And then there was another time when he did quite well attacking down the left at one point. So, but I thought, you know, it's hard. It's sort of which it's dinosaur and egg, whether it's sort of that we started playing badly because Rutter was on the pitch, or that him playing badly made us worse. I don't think coming on in the last half hour of a game against Scum when everybody's getting tired and they're bringing on fresh, better players is the moment when we're going to get the best out of him in his second appearance for Leeds. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and hope that he's going to be better.
And there's very much a bigger story at play, Moscow, which is the shape, the tactics, the way we set up. I mean, I've come away from that personally feeling like, my God, why didn't we make this change sooner? Because the organisation was light years ahead of what we've seen this season. And everybody could see it in the stadium. Like, there's one person in particular who's like tweeted the same. Was that one on Marsh as well? Like, you know, like blah, 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 blah. It's like, no.
We played so much better than we would have if Marsh was here, and I will stand by that.
Streets ahead of anything we've seen in the last 12 months was that, in terms of organisation. Junior Firpo looked like a competent footballer because
I made notes to say we must praise Firpo because I thought he was actually had some very good moments.
Especially booking was 17 minutes in,
and it didn't even look like a booking to me. There was worse in the game than that. Sensible. We look like a sensible, disciplined team instead of just chaos. But at the same time, retaining some of what Marsh had gotten doing, because I think, getting into Marsh as ever, he's very big on behaviours and attitudes and sort of like your SARD and the things you've got to do and all those. And what Skubala seems to have done, I mean, he does have help, although we've learned that he has put himself in charge of them, is give a structure to that. So they are still SARDing for all their worth when the opportunity is there. But he's also told them, stay in your shape, be sensible, don't try making stupid decisions. If we're attacking and you can't get to the goal straight away, keep it. Try giving it to a teammate instead of just going hell for leather all the time. And so I've seen much more of us being around the penalty area in controlled possession, going to one side, going to the other, trying to get in here, trying to get in there, instead of just giving it to Brendan Aronson and like run. And so it's kept some of that, of the attitudes, but put it within something that actually makes some bloody sense.
And Zach as well, who's one of the Marsh super fans who's in the comments every week defending him, God bless you, for staying on brand, saying we would have played the exact same under Marsh. Marsh could get good results against the better teams. No, we wouldn't have played the exact same, because today we were defending a lot deeper. So it was, as the cool kids would say, a mid to low block, whereas Marsh has you pressing from the front, which leaves you getting pulled horribly out of shape. Everybody in that stadium could see it today. The atmosphere was different. The atmosphere lifted 1,000 times, like the pressure being taken off.
The pressing from the front was interesting, because we seem to have an approach of we would essentially just let Maguire and Shaw have the ball and just leave, say, well, go on then. Play around us. See what you can do with it. And the answer for most of the game was nothing. They were just completely up against a brick wall.
I felt honoured to be watching Harry Maguire today, because being so young, I never saw Franz Beckenbauer in the flesh. But today, I feel like the passing out from the back. It reminded me of, there's a Mick Hennigan story, who's Howard Wilkinson's assistant manager, and when Dave Simpson interviewed him for The Last Champions, a very good book about the title-winning team, he was asking him about the things that they knew about players, and he mentioned Phil Babb, that their tactical plan, whenever they had a team, he was laughing. He's like, yeah, Phil Babb, I always remember, just let him have the ball. And he said, why? He said, because he'll give it to you. So that's it. With Harry Maguire, you don't have to press him. You just cut off all his other options.
Yeah, that's what you
and
do.
He'll eventually just give it to you.
If you looked at the shape that they had, and a number of times we forced them into doing that as well, like conceding possession, was just to cut off the passing lanes into midfield for them. So they had to start looking longer. So that was how we were pressing from.
Just looked at the stats actually. Harry Maguire 127 passes, Bruno Fernandes 31.
Yeah, which says a lot about what we were doing.
So that's demonstration of it working, because he's who they put the football through. And occasionally he does. I mean, he was in fairness very well marked by the referee today. It was Bruno Fernandes, so he was struggling to get space in there as well.
And another great difference as well that we saw today, because the tweaks, as Scoobs has said, the tweaks, we're not chucking the whole manual in the bin. Because there are good bits about what Marsh did. Yeah, we did turn up good performances against good teams.
Although actually one of them was Chelsea, who was shit.
But Biggie T
and Liverpool, who was shit,
is saying there was a ball from Firpo to Ayling, who launched a huge diagonal to Nonto. That's true. There's no way they would have done that under Marsh. They were looking to use the width of the pitch. You could see it, and so it's hard to. You don't want to talk down to people who've not been in the stadium today, but when you've been in the stadium, you see the whole shape of the game, and it was a mile apart.
You could see it in the video footage from Old Trafford as well. It was a bigger view of the similar sort of thing, and there were still Marsh bits in there. It seemed like Somerville in the second half was following Wilf Gnonto around, because we couldn't really get Wilf in it in the first half. So in the second half, they were trying to get overloads, and we weren't trying to go wing to wing as much. So we are staying relatively within the lanes, but it's the slowing down in those moments.
100 to 70, you might say.
Yeah, we might be in some of the same setups, but the way the players are going about trying to attack is much more. It just felt sensible. I know it's very much a Warnock-ism. There's the famous clip of him, and I actually, much as I dislike Neil Warnock, this always makes me laugh. It's the cup tie, Sheffield United away to Arsenal. He goes, "Go out there and enjoy it, lads, but enjoy it by being disciplined here." And that's what we suddenly have had in the last two games. Is a team that is still got the potential for games. It's still pressing, and we were creating a lot of chances by forcing them into errors, but much better at keeping disciplined, keeping shape, not giving up. Apart from Max Verber once, giving up stupid chances to the opposition.
I'm just going to write that down, by the way, because we need to talk about that. But I
saw as well 10 minutes before, and this is where it's maybe a bit meaner when you picking up on little bits of body language. But 10 minutes before half time, Tyler Adams went in late on somebody and started arguing about where a throw-in was going. And I saw Scoobs look at him, and he pointed to his temples, and then gave him 10. He was like, and he's saying like 10 minutes half time, just calm down. 10 minutes half time. which, you know, Jesse would have been on the pitch with him trying to take swings at Fred, wouldn't he? So it's just these little differences of approach that have come in and made we look a very different team.
And there was none of that pinball trying to force it through a tiny area, like as well. That was such a noticeable difference. We were using the pitch, passing it around, and then sending it into
created chances.
Yes, indeed.
From it.
It's not. It's just not the. It's not as frantic as it was.
Yeah,
that was the thing with it. It was always. We never ever would just have our foot on the ball for even a second. It felt like under Marsh. In the worst of Marsh, it was just play it forward. It is. There's no one to pass to. Don't matter. Play that ball anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
like,
that's part of his.
Just fucking wait and wait for a pass and wait for an actual ball to play.
Part of his approach, right from the day he turned up when we were researching him, it was if there's not a pass on, just chip it to the penalty area, to the penalty spot. That's one of his ideas. Whereas this time, if there's not a pass on, find one, which it seems a much more sensible approach and fits much more with the quality of players that we've got who played very well today, I thought, even though we lost.
Yeah, it was. It was an unfortunate defeat, that wasn't it? It felt like, some of the changes they made, they were able to bring on players who were going to win them the game, and it was just inevitable, wasn't it? Bloody Rashford central header and all that. I know what I noticed at about 70 minutes was our players. I sort of predicted this in my head. I thought, I bet they're going to score in about 10 minutes, something like that, because our players had just started to, when the game needed chasing and when we needed to kind of keep our foot on the gas, you could see the players all just trying to slow it down a little bit because they're tired by that point.
Yeah,
and I thought, we're puffing a little bit here. We need to. Which is probably why I made the changes, but they're trying to buy themselves a little bit of time. Like, so for example, there were points where we were in their attacking third, and then we'd pass it back to Meslier just to give ourselves a breather. I thought, they're a bit tired now after 2 games in a week.
We really went for it. It felt like the start of the second half, that was our time to score, wasn't it? We had a big push. We had them really quite effectively penned in for a long time, it felt like. We had a good 20 minutes of pressure there. And we had some half chances. I didn't actually see particularly well because it was in the first half. Was it a good chance early on?
Somerville
right from the start. We should have been 1-0 up in 2 minutes.
It looks good, but from far end, obviously you can't.
It looked terrible from close up because he wanged it into the south stand.
But that looked like our best chance. But
and this is the thing, isn't it?
After Verber had kept the ball in play after a corner and
at this
got
level
it back across.
Against the team that's third in the Premier League, you've just got to take your chances. It boils down to that again, doesn't it?
And there were some of those moments. I was umming and ahhing about Somerville because he's very energetic, and I loved watching him when he realised that it was only Weghorst was chasing him. He was like, right, I've got to run this.
I can do him.
But then that was a prime example of then he got to the edge of the penalty area and he was trying to play Ayling and he just whacked it out of touch, and there was a few of those where not quite making the right decision and not quite putting the right quality on the ball when he does make
He didn't quite have composure, did he?
No, and so that's where we were maybe you'd want a Sinisterra there or something, or Somerville in a couple of seasons when he's got a bit more about him. But and then it was also noticeable a lot was going through him because we couldn't really get hold of Gnonto in the first half, but Harrison was brilliant, I thought.
Yeah, I thought Harrison and Somerville both had some really good moments and some really frustrating ones.
Yeah, I guess you know what? I suppose maybe Somerville's going to turn into Harrison, where it will be exactly the same for years, where it's like, oh, great first touch, but it doesn't always work out. I loved Harrison's substitution. It did make me slightly wonder. If he'd done that in January, I'd think he was off.
Yeah.
Because he was on the verge of them getting a guard of honour out and everybody appearing with T-shirts on, but he really took as long as possible getting off the pitch.
Interesting, just diving into a comment that touches on what we were saying there. Popey has just tweeted to say that Ten Hag said in the post-match interviews that he felt Man United didn't show enough composure until taking the lead, too many unnecessary errors, which I think is actually huge credit to the way that we set up today.
Yeah. And I think the midfield was better today as well. I thought I know people were praising McKennie the other night, and I thought he gave the ball away a bit too much. I thought he faded in the game, but early on, put a really big tackle early on, which was great. There were a couple of really big tackles early on, one from Adams, one from McKennie, and I feel like they really set the tone as well.
Yeah,
it was like,
it was a proper barnstorming, almost old school Premier League tie-up moments, wasn't it?
Yeah. So those 2 early tackles from those 2, it was a we're not going to fuck about today kind of a moment.
I have to say that aspect of the midfield, particularly Adams and McKennie, like double teaming it. Just I really enjoyed watching that.
I think we need McKennie. Maybe could do with some of the Bielsa fitness regime, and Brendan Aronson could maybe do with the opposite. One of those players needs more sherry and eggs, and one needs less
sherry and eggs.
And then McKennie as well, but he doesn't stop getting there. And and tackling, and then not convinced. And this was kind of, he came with this on his CV that he can't really pass. Like there's not a sensible pass left in him. But Tyler Adams, I'm pretty sure, because he got a hand in the face right below where I was.
In the face?
In the face. So I was on the gantry, it happened right below, and I'm pretty sure I saw Rob Price and his staff collecting his teeth in a tissue off the grass, and he reacted as well. It was kind of, it reminded me of when I got mugged, and I didn't know if I'd had my nose broken, so I went back to my house because it happened around the corner from me, and I went in and I said to my housemate, it's like, there was blood pouring all over my face. I was like, is my nose broken? And he looked at me and he went, no. And then I knew then it was definitely broken because his face was like an absolute, he couldn't lie.
Wait a second, you got mugged?
I mean, this is a long, long time. This is years ago.
You mean with your physique, you didn't just brush them off?
I mean, I tried to just convince them that it was a Triumph mobile phone. I'm sure I've told this on the podcast before, with a magic roundabout phone case.
It's not worth it, lads.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I was like, look, if you want this, you can have it, and but you don't. And then they want some money, and then I said something like, oh, fuck off, you're not getting any money. And then he punched me in the face for swearing, which I thought was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Anyway, my reaction when...
Hey, he's got an iPhone now, he's worth mugging.
My reaction when...
Should we tell everybody where he lives?
I understood that my nose had been broken, reminded me, or Tyler Adams, I think, was the same when they got there and they were like, Tyler, where's your teeth? Because he then went to the linesman and was like, am I not getting anything for this? How the fuck are you letting him just remove my teeth? And then that's where they were like going around the floor and put them in a little tissue.
Put them in a little cup of milk.
Yeah, they
Works,
seemed to know
right?
what they were doing. I mean, when I had my face punched, I didn't then go and run around a football field for another 70 minutes. So I was quite impressed that Tyler kept it together.
I've now got this
went back on.
image, because you are quite a lone wolf, you, Moscow. And I've got an image of you now, sort of, I was going to say prowling the streets would have been the wrong word at night. Patrolling them like Batman. Like sort of
Going to find them down.
dishing out some vigilante
That's people I
justice.
wanted to see again. I mean, they punched me in the face.
Because you do on
I'll
like
go hang out with those guys.
like a long dark coat. Anyway, let's talk about Luke Ayling, because we were shouted at by Ed in the comments on YouTube. Says, talk about Ayling. So let's do that.
It's good again, wasn't he?
He was
And he
great.
nearly scored with an overhead kick.
Yeah.
I will credit. I was sitting next to Joe Urquhart, and he pointed out that it would have been instant retirement. You'd have had to sub him off, just like, yep, go. Like, you're not playing ever again.
Perlo's Beard asks, how has Moscow's life not been made into a sitcom yet?
Oh, come on. This is less interesting than
I think it'd be a
Luke
drama.
Ayling's overhead kicks.
It'd be a drama, wouldn't it?
He was good. I did wonder if I've got some criticism of Scoobs, who obviously can do no wrong. Rasmus Christensen, maybe we needed him to run faster than Luke Ayling after 160 minutes in a week were probably enough for him. And it was similar with, it was interesting that Bamford didn't last to the hour. And I'd been thinking just before Rutter started putting his shirt on that he'd started to look leggy. So I think, and you don't sub a player off that for 55 minutes. You give him an hour for fitness, don't you? But I think it was, he could do no more. And especially when it was, they took him off for our corner as well. So it was like, now we need to get Pazza Bamfs off this pitch. And I think there was maybe, we could have done with some of that with Luke Ayling as well. And it was similar at Old Trafford when we're trying to see it out, that we were bringing Brendan on and bringing whoever else we brought on, and we made loads of changes. And we did have the problem that we'd had to bring on Firpo in the first half. I didn't mean it that way, but so some defensive changes. Although, bring on.
He stalled.
Jeremiah Mullen.
Someone control alt delete him.
Bring on.
I thought we'd broken you then. Moscow.
We could have brought on Jeremiah Mullen, I suppose.
Giving Steve Nicol in the studio. Absolute silence. Yeah, the bench did look a little bit
Childish.
a bit childish again today, didn't it? But
just Chris Kirk has tweeted as just saying that Harrison going off had more impact on the shape of things than Bamford's sub, because he was leading the press and he was organising Jimmy and Willie next to him as well. So
we lost
a bit of direction, but
direction and some experience as well. Like, how old is? I mean, Bamford and Harrison are both good, experienced pros. Brendan Aronson, he's not older than Somerville, really, is he? He's just another fun kid. And and Rutter has obviously played one game. Accrington doesn't count. 2 at most. So, yeah, we lost some nous.
Christensen apparently was singing, Katie said in the comments, singing down the touchline when he was warming up at one point, which I think is good fun. Let's talk about then, the note thing that I made, the note of Verba, the chance before half-time, because we got that far and I thought this has been a really solid half. See it through to half-time. Don't do anything, oh no. Don't do anything stupid. And he did.
Melia was brilliant, though.
Can I just say, just the precursor to that was Fernandez had been, I think he'd either been diving or winching with the ref, or whatever he'd been doing. And I
doesn't sound like him at all.
I was saying some bad words about him in that stadium, I'll be honest. I wasn't saying many nice things.
I noticed at one point in the first half, he went down.
The word rat might have been used.
I refer to him as rat in my notes throughout, because it's easier to write, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 letters.
There was a bit in the first half where he went down in front of their fans trying to get someone booked, and you could tell from the reaction of their fans, absolutely fuck all had happened, because if there's a bad tackle in front of away fans, everyone goes, "Whoa, we're going, ref, book him." Everyone just went, "Oh."
Bruno being Bruno. Yeah.
Is that the one where he just stayed sitting there for ages? The game was going on, and he just sat down in an offside.
Yeah,
it might have been second half, actually, when he did that.
Oh, no, this was earlier on.
Right.
This was first half.
Well, there was number 12 kicked things off by getting tackled and going down with a head injury.
Yes.
To stop the game.
But anyway, so Fernandez he'd done something to make me sad and angry, and then Verba did that and nearly sent him through it. And the sort of, it wasn't a fully completed thought in my brain, but my brain just sort of went, oh no, that's not fair. The thought of him running away in front of the cop after he'd just been given abuse, having scored. Thankfully it didn't happen, but he got away with one there. And if you saw Bamford actually ran back and bollocked Verba for that.
Bamford's been bollocking. All I've seen him do is bollock Verba for the last 2 games.
He's in the leadership group.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fair enough. I don't mind the players bollocking each other about stuff like that.
It's one of those mistakes that was that bad. There's almost no point bollocking someone for it, is there? It's like, well,
yeah, you know what you've done.
Like, well, obviously I didn't mean to play them through on goal. So yeah, sorry about that. But I thought Melia did really well, because he stood up and he made him make a decision, where sometimes keepers can come out and they can make it a bit easier for a striker. But he did well there.
I think he played better than De Gea today, because they looked pretty shambolic at the back. Like some of our chances came from them being unable to clear. Our fairly average set pieces were turning into chaotic moments in their penalty area, and they just didn't seem able to sort it out. And also, I don't want to get through all this without saying that Fred is terrible, isn't he?
Shit. I can really see why.
Awful.
I mean, their fans do hate him, and I can kind of see why. Because he didn't do anything, does he?
Nothing good. And even the tackle that he got booked for when I think he took down Somerville was awful. Like, it was a real. It wasn't just I need to trip in and take the yellow. It was like, no, I'm going to go bang straight through his legs for absolutely no reason. And then just his all-round play is just. I was starting to get angry. This is Premier League football, and I'm having to watch this.
Better than this.
Yeah, and I'm having to watch this rubbish.
Demanding better from me.
Yeah.
But Zach's now shouting because he wants to know about Schroeder. If you don't mention Schroeder, I'll drop a bollock. Drop a bollock if you want.
How do
you got 2?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Schroeder. He's got a cat. Oh, that's Schrodinger.
Yeah. Or does he have a cat? Remains to be solved, doesn't it? Well, he was there, wasn't he, today? But it's
the
not.
Rumours. I haven't seen a photo, but it's the guy from the Telegraph says he was there.
He used to work with Ten Hag.
Rory's brother.
Used to work with
Paul's cousin.
With Ten Hag, didn't he? So he might have just been in. I mean, who knows if Ten Hag brought him in just to put a cat among the pigeons, as you
it could all be a scum plot. Like, come and pretend that you're walk around with a clipboard and pretend that you're taking over while I try and bollock Harry Maguire into being useful.
I mean, he's also just a bald man. People may have just spotted a bald man and seen this story and put 2 and 2 together and gone, "Oh, sorry."
It's like when you were walking past the East Stand and people thought that Brian McDermott's back for another job.
Yeah.
Don't give it to Danny Mills.
But yeah, I mean, based on the limited amount of stuff I've read about him, I don't want him. Do you?
I mean, I saw Alex Bruce there today, so maybe Steve Bruce is coming in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I did say to Phil, I don't know what time I did text him asking him about this. I said, please tell me that it's not.
I mean, I don't know why people are asking us. They need to be tweeting at Phil
because
about these
they
things.
think we've got a line into Phil. Which, to be fair, we do have a line into Phil, but
doesn't tell us any of this, though, does he?
Yeah. So
even though he definitely knows.
There's a nice picture of the Ajax fans welcoming him with a number of banners.
Yes,
I've seen that. It's not just one banner.
Oh, there's a number.
There's a lot of banners.
Yeah, they
are quite feisty, the old Ajax fans, aren't they?
Yeah, they've The one that made me laugh, it's a montage with banners, and one of them is a picture of an alien head with a cross through it, just mocking the man's cranium.
This is what you're going to get next.
Yeah. I saw it and I thought,
there seems to be...
That's quite funny.
Can't we just make Iraola do the dirty on Vallecano?
Yeah.
That would be a preference for me.
There seems to be like two tracks to the job search, and one is getting less attention than the other. One is Victor Orta flying around Europe begging people he likes to try and do it. But then there's also talk that we've interviewed 4 people at the same time who presumably have applied or were just kind of on a second list or aren't in work. So we've not heard as much about those. So it could be that this... is it too early to call him a bald fraud? Or do we just go straight in there?
No, go straight in there.
Are we talking about Michael again here, or?
This bald fraud has interviewed well, and so it's like, okay, well,
Hey,
you're in the running, so...
It was me. I told him
About your coaching tips.
I told him my name was... I told him I'd managed Ajax before and turned up, and he was like, "Oh, cool."
Did you put in your Steve McLaren
Yes.
Dutch accent?
But Phil said he was going to find out, and that was at half time. So hopefully he'll find out.
Well, he probably has. So he's had like more than an hour. So I think people should be tweeting him and asking him what he's found out.
All bald frauds together.
LABAF. Anyway,
Solidarity, isn't there? There's brotherhood.
Are you particularly worried about the season after seeing that? I feel more enthusiastic about what's left to come. There's obviously a long way to go. There's a lot of games to play, a lot of different games. They're going to have a different kind of feel to them, different shape to them than that.
I mean, obviously, I can't remember when we last won a league game.
November.
So that's a bit of a problem.
We haven't been playing constantly since November. There's the World Cup.
There's been a World Cup since we won a game.
It's just a very, very long time, though, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
You talk about players forget how to win, and I know that we've beaten some lower league teams, but it does really feel like a different season when we actually won a game.
Yeah.
There's been enough in there.
We could beat Jesse Marsh's Southampton, can't we, in a couple of weeks? Good God, that'd be amazing.
It would.
Just as a prospect, to have him come back to Ellen Road and booed.
It's funny. Like, I was dead against giving it Scoobs to the end of the season, but if it is between him and somebody that like the Ajax fans want to throw into the canal, then it's almost coming down to like how bad can he be when we've already done so much better than we have been in much more difficult games. Scoobs has the Everton game, I'm confident. I think that's the thing. And that's what we've not had for a while. It feels like we always lose to scum. Like, today's nothing. They all seem very happy about it. I wasn't surprised. I'm used to it.
I feel weird.
Yeah, I've seen it enough times.
Yeah.
I
feel weirdly like I'd be happier with Scoobs taking it because he's just a coach. When it becomes a lazy option, a bit like Bournemouth have done, where like Gary O'Neill was just kind of there and he used to play football, and they've just gone, "Oh, you can do it. We couldn't get anyone else." Whereas it feels like Scoobs has at least set out to be a coach, so might have given it coaching a bit more thought than just being like, I used to be coached all the time. I've been a footballer all my life, therefore I'll stay in football and do some coaching.
Who was it that Tottenham put in the dugout against us when we did we beat them at Elland Road in the maybe we didn't beat them, but he was there after Mourinho, the curly-haired defender.
Oh yes, that child. He
was like the youngest manager of all time. He was about 27, and it was like, because he'd had the head injury, hadn't he? And he'd
Ryan
retired.
Mason.
Ryan Mason. So he's not a Ryan Mason character, and I always thought that this is a bit of getting into Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, because there was people kind of defending their records and saying that obviously the game is kind of favouring people like Skibala, who have started, I think he did his first coaching badges when he was 23, so the non-league team that he's playing for, the manager was like, right, well, you can start coaching them, and all these like 30-year-old pub players were like, not fucking listening to him. But he said that was like the first point where he started learning how to educate. So that's kind of the route that a lot of people are going, and getting lots of experience. And that's it, comparing it to Duncan Ferguson, who has been coaching at academy level and assistant manager level for years and years, like 15, 20 years. And then to justify it, they're like, but Steven Gerrard did a year with Liverpool under 18s, and Frank Lampard also gained some experience at Chelsea Academy. As if that's the same, as if it's I went back to my old club and just looked after the under 18s for a season. Now I'm ready. So, yeah, he seems to. Yeah, I mean it's weird. I just don't.
Sigh.
I sort of feel like it's not a good idea because you inevitably get maybe the Gary O'Neill thing where it starts to go wrong as soon as he's in the job. But if you did just say, because Gary O'Neill's got the job permanently, can we get through the rest of the season with just a caretaker and say, right, you're not going to have it next year, but keep going for now.
It completely depends on the quality of other people available, doesn't it? Because if you've gone through your top 5 and you're eventually like, well, this guy can probably do a job, but I mean, we're in with this guy. We'd be very into the gamble territory, wouldn't we? He's never worked in the league. He's never been particularly successful.
Ajax, brother.
Yeah, but he's not been. He doesn't know the league. He doesn't have a long history of success. He's been through basically a one good year at Bruges.
I had to clarify that because you could have been talking about Skabala as well.
Well, yeah, but if we're into the realms of just taking a punt on someone, you're on about uprooting things again, and then you potentially end up in the Southampton situation of having another manager in the season. If you appoint him and 6 games in, everyone's like, "Fuck, it's not working," and it kind of worked a bit. It reminds me a little bit of when the season when we had Hockaday and Redders basically kept coming in and doing all right.
Yep.
And then they couldn't resist just appointing someone else. And then you end up giving it back to Redders again. It's like, he came in and things were better when he was there. So let's go back to that. But
Redders to the end of the season worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was fine.
Is Redders coming in?
Give it Redders. I mean, we are in the equivalent of giving it Redders. It's giving it Scoobs. But it starts to become sort of more and more appealing, sort of the more and more that Victor Orta is getting told to fuck off by everybody who's good. And there's, they interviewed him. If they trust him with the under-21s, having interviewed for that job over Eirik Bakker, then do you still... I mean, that's an important job.
I mean, to be clear,
the Premier League as
my
well?
first choice is absolutely to employ a good manager now.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
However...
but if all we have to do, if all it comes down to is just good training sessions during the week and then letting them play well at the weekend, does it need to be more complicated than that? Do we need a new philosophy? Do we need somebody trying to put in their way of playing between now and the end of the season? What do we need from somebody? I think at the moment we need somebody to do what Scoops has done for the last 2 games, which is just take the good of what they had and give them some organisation and discipline. And I thought it after the Old Trafford game, and now it's happening again. It's what we were crying out for when Bielsa got sacked as well. It's like, please just have some structure. Like, don't be open all the time. If we're attacking, be a bit more. So we all just wanted. I mean, I didn't because I want Bielsa to stay, but the general vibe was we just needed to be a bit more stout.
Stout, I love that.
That seems to be where we've got to by just having somebody with some calmness, not throwing out Marsh's work, not throwing out Bielsa's work, but just going like, how about if we just get back in shape all the time and be a bit more patient?
Do good things, Moscow. Not a good thing. The chants today have been condemned by statements from both clubs. Both clubs strongly condemn chanting from both sets of fans regarding historic tragedies at today's game. Such behaviour is completely unacceptable, and we will continue to work together with our respective fan groups and Premier League and other authorities on eradicating it from football.
Same as it always is.
I must admit, I didn't. In the cop, you said it was quite loud from the West Stand. In the cop, because it was quite raw. Because I didn't really hear anything to right at the end when there were pockets of Munich chants.
I was right above the away fans. So I was right at the scoreboard end, above them. So I could hear them all through the game, and I could hear the South Stand's responses. And it's just the same as it always is. Like, one set sings a song, and everybody goes like, "Oh, you can't sing that." So they sing something that's just as bad. And then they go, "Oh, well, you can't sing that." And
you started it. Yeah, well, you started it.
Yeah, and it just goes on, and it fades, and then it comes back, and one side might bring it back after it's not been sung for a while, and the other ones get angry about it, and it's just... I don't know what the solutions are because it's been
but I've said this before,
decades.
like when it comes to stuff like this, like I don't like it personally, and that's because I don't know, again, it possibly just goes back to stage of life I'm at and knowing the ages of the people who've died in Istanbul and having kids and things like that, being more sensitive to the families, having read articles about the families, and it's humanised the whole thing. It goes beyond chants in a football ground, and that's not what's getting thought about when people are singing it. And I don't think you can finger wag at football fans. I think I don't know. You've got to appeal to the better nature, and unfortunately, doesn't always work out with football, does it? I don't know what the solution is, but
because the thing is, if you say to people, and we always have this with the Neon Soul song as well, as you say, it's a bad song and it winds people up, and a lot of people are like, yeah, we like winding people up. That's cool. So we'll keep singing it for those reasons. Like nobody's singing the songs we heard today thinking it's a nice thing to sing. It's because the things being referred to are bad. But then there's also the question of how much people who are singing about it say even know about it. Because it becomes a point when you have that removed by time from the events that they're just words to those people, and all they really know about those words is that they upset the people who were over there.
Yeah.
So if you shout those words at them, they get angry about it, and then they shout back. But if you actually get down to and this is maybe the solution of it, is you bring them face to face with the people who are affected by the tragedies in Istanbul and by the tragedies in Munich, and said, these are the people who you are singing about when you just throw those words around. Maybe, it's more difficult to get away with it then, because what always happens in these situations is because we're not invested, we're just scolds, and the Twitter sphere, like the club statement is just, it's being scolded by people who are not directly affected. It's not the same thing as being told by somebody who was directly affected why it affects them. It's seen as just like, oh, you're just telling us off, like a
finger
teacher.
wagging.
Yeah. And that has less power than actually being brought face to face with what it actually means, which is people dying when none of them should have.
Yeah, and it's a matter of taste. Like, I don't sit there and I'm not offended by it because I've witnessed it for years.
Just bored of it.
I've grown up with it for like 40 years of this shit.
Bored of it happening, bored of hearing it, bored that we'll have to there'll be statements about it, bored that we have to go through the same discussion every year, and just
it's really
just fucking stop it
in the ground. It's basically it's more
do?
or less pantomime stuff in the ground.
Yeah.
It's no one really means it. Like I doubt Man United fans are actually glad that some Leeds fans were killed. I doubt many Leeds fans are glad that Man United players died in a plane crash. It's just, like Moscow said, it's just something to say to upset
It's a stick
people.
to beat fans with, isn't it?
and that's why it would be so easy to not do it, because nobody's really getting anything out of it.
No.
Like it's just people shouting very similar things, horrible things to each other, and then so what's been gained at the end of it? So there endeth today's moral interlude.
Yeah. And is there a solution to it?
I quite like
Who
the solution. When Millwall used to do this, we used to just chant boring, boring Millwall at them towards the end. And I felt that was probably a better solution for it, because it was just...
There's too much poison in this, isn't there, I think?
Yeah.
Well, there's the easily available response.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a tragedy that I'm aware of involving Millwall fans that we can shout back at them about. So
apart from the Millwall fans.
Yeah, apart from the tragedy of their lives supporting that team. So it's really easy. It's just right there on the shelf.
Yeah.
It's like if they sing that, well, we've got this, and then nothing is gained from it apart from some people got to shout it at some other people. And do they even feel better about it? I don't know.
Final thoughts. Back on the game then. Final thoughts on the game.
Bruno Fernandes should live in a bin forever.
Yep.
Yeah. Disagreement there for me.
Disagreements there. I was just going to say, where from here, in your opinion? Where do we have to go? What?
Everton away. We have to go.
And
fixture
do
list.
you think we have to win there?
It'd be really nice. What happened yesterday?
They play Liverpool on Monday, don't they? So we
Go on,
could be in the bottom three.
Go on, Jurgen.
If Everton win that, it's not.
Does it feel to you like the season starts like now?
We can't lose it, I don't think.
No.
A draw would probably be all right, but Christ,
we need to start winning.
We need to start winning at some point.
Yeah.
And a win just does so much for you.
Yeah.
Like if you win 2 games in a row, which doesn't sound the most difficult thing in the world, you look absolutely fine. All of a sudden, you'll fly up the table.
It's a hollow appearance, because it's the same with Forest. They've got 2 more wins than us, but 5 points. But it's it's quickly evaporates, as we discovered after the Watford game last year. When you think, all right, we've won a game and we're miles out of this now. I suppose the one thing that is significant today is that apart from Everton still having to go to Liverpool tomorrow, that's our game in hand. wasn't it? So we're back to
we're on par,
an even league table, and unfortunately, we appear to be only 17th, which I think is not high enough.
No, we should be higher than that.
I think we should try and get further up the table than that.
But essentially, I don't think we need to change anything going into Everton. I think we can, if we play in the same way, fine.
Against an inferior team.
Let Tarky have the ball.
And when I say inferior team, I mean inferior relative to Man United, not to us, you know, because we are where we are in the table, you know.
That's the risk, isn't it? It's kind of because Scoobs has got us like with these 2 good performances and 1 point, which is a point more than I think we probably expected from these games, and certainly the performances were better than we were fearing. You start to wonder if it's like this fragile alchemy that even if Pep Guardiola said I'll take it for the rest of the season, you're like, but are you gonna mess it up though? Are you gonna try and get them to do some stuff that won't work?
It's almost like Jenga, isn't it?
Yeah, it's where you've reached that fragile point where this seems to be working and we don't exactly know why.
Should we stop now and leave the Jenga tower intact?
Yeah, everybody stand back, and then as soon as we put in a below par performance and lose a game, we get the banners out, and it's we do all sorts of awful cartoons involving Scooby-Doo.
Indeed. Right, well, let's wrap it up there then. We've gone long on this one, so we'll be back with all the usual stuff in the forthcoming week. Phil Hay Show tomorrow, where we'll try and get to the bottom of the whole manager thing.
He could just tweet it now. If he would just tweet.
He should text me now and I can tell everyone.
Yeah, if he would just tell people who the new manager is, it would save people a lot of hassle.
We'll wrap it up
he
there.
could tell Victor Orta, that might be useful.
Thank you.
I'll check the Bold Man WhatsApp group and see if anyone's put it. No one's put it in there.
Thank you for joining us on the live
What
stream.
a right said Fred saying at the moment.
Something about vaccines again.
Is Duncan Hugh got a swimming contest later?
Contrails and all that. Thank you for joining us on the live stream. If you're watching along live, and if you're listening afterwards, have a look at TSB Plus as well, where you get priority access for this, and you can join us for the live streams after the games. thesquareball.net/plus for details on that, and we'll speak to you through the week.
The Match Ball.